Give them 3 more.
Yeah, no, let's go. They had the treats.
Let's give them a couple more. What do you guys think?
Let's we'll kick it off because I'm sure you got a lot to talk about.
Okay. So, how many of you are familiar here with Amazon EC2? How many of you use Amazon EC2 right now for anything other than WordPress or WordPress? Very few hands. Very few hands, right? How many of you are very happy with using Amazon EC2? Okay, so most people who have it are very happy with Amazon EC2. How many of you have WordPress on shared hosting? So you guys do blog or CMS as shared hosting with some place. Have you run into spikes on your blog and you have run into an issue where the site gives you a pingdom alert if you have set up pingdom alerts that the site is down? That you had a massive gob of traffic come into your site and your shared hosting account just cannot keep up with it. Okay, so there are people who have suffered from it. And what kind of shared hosting environments does everyone use? So if you can say, is Bluehost? Okay. Okay, HostGator. Media Temple. Okay. Okay. Anybody uses GoDaddy or? Okay, we have a few. We have a few people on GoDaddy also. So I will tell you my journey, how I even came to this point of doing a presentation on Amazon EC2. Actually, so first of all, who am I? I'm Harnish Baradia. You can find me in these places, on Twitter, on my blog and my site. I am a usability engineer, user experience person. I have extensive skill set in usability, analytics, conversion rate optimization, SEO, how to build in virality in content, things like that. I have love for all things open source. I was doing a similar presentation like the one here at the Drupal camp, just installing the Drupal 7 alpha on EC2. I was introduced to WordPress 4 years ago. I don't get to do this in my day job. I work for a medical device company up in the valley, and none of this WordPress or Drupal things are at my workplace. And I have ended up helping a whole bunch of my friends get up on WordPress and do blogging on it or run a store from WordPress and so on and so forth. And the flexibility that WordPress provided me in terms of being a publisher and being able to do so many things, like installing, say, all-in-one SEO plugin, installing the base sitemap.xml plugin, and getting a good site up and running in no time was a big lure for me to continue investing my time in WordPress. So that's who I am. So Amazon EC2. I actually began a small site on the side last year called gamezilla.us. I have about 45,000 games for kids. I am importing 200 or 300 games every other day on that site, and we do some translation in 45 languages, and so we create this site where with all these translations and so on, where I began hosting that site on Rackspace Cloud. And that is Rackspace Cloud was, if you guys remember, last year Rackspace acquired SliceHost, and Rackspace Cloud was a conglomeration of SliceHost, Moso, which was an in-house web startup of Rackspace, and Rackspace. So they cobbled some resources together, got this new hosting environment going that they called Rackspace Cloud. I was on the basic 256 meg cloud, and I ran into terrible problems with them. Again, this could only be me, where as soon as the PHP's memory usage went above a certain threshold, it shut down my whole instance. without any forewarning, without any email, anything, my machine got shut down. My server got shut down, and then I would get a pingdom alert, and I would have to restart the instance and so on. And that went on for about a month, and I said, okay, let's move to something more reliable. And at that time, one of my friend, who's an expert at EC2, I had dabbled into EC2. I had started up a box or so back a couple of years ago. I knew what it was, and he said now it's more cheaper, because EC2 by itself, if you went for a smallest on-demand instance, you're looking at $72 a month without counting any bandwidth costs. So then Amazon began something called as reserved instances, where you pre-purchase for up to a year, up to 3 years, an instance, and then you have a very reduced hourly rate on those instances. So I went to the smallest reserved instance called m1.small. It's $350 for the instance for 3 years, and then the price falls to about $21 a month, $31 a month, something like that, without costing the without taking into consideration the bandwidth costs. So then I had also in the meantime begun a blog called educator.com. Funny part was I have a shared godaddy.com account where I have about 19 sites. None of those 19 sites have had an issue, and they don't see much traffic. They're probably doing 1,000 uniques a day, if that, each one of them, and I've never had an issue with my GoDaddy account. But for this educator.com, every other day I would run into a pingdom alert of the site going down. And I get more traffic on educator.com than the other sites, but I had the Amazon EC2 instance going for my GameZilla site, which is a code igniter site, and I decided to move my blog right to EC2. That's how I got started on Amazon EC2 and WordPress. So I'm actually going to start the demo. I will actually attempt to do the whole do a whole site on Amazon EC2, and I will show you how I do it. Log into Amazon Web Services. It's aws.amazon.com. You just hit sign in. So while I was doing this dry run last night, I discovered something else that Amazon just launched the day before. Was a brand new type of instance. They just launched, I was just talking to a few people here, they launched something called as a micro instance. You have the small instance, which is 1.7 gig RAM and 160 gig hard drive. They just launched something called as a micro instance, which is which uses as less as 0.7 cents an hour from a costing standpoint. So I'll show you how to use this.
Have you actually used those?
I did use it twice since last night.
Because I was chatting with somebody, and it was like taking longer than a day to instantiate the site itself.
So we will see it right now. So let's see how much time it takes. I did a demo even a few minutes ago. So I fired up Amazon EC2, and all I did was I'm going to launch an instance. These are the default instances for people who don't know these. Amazon has pre-built Fedora instances and Windows instances. However, I'm looking to give a presentation on Ubuntu, so I'm gonna have to point to a community AMI. I also have made an AMI for myself. I'm not gonna use that. How many of you know elastic.com? Eric Heyman. Okay. So he has done a lot of legwork for all of us for Amazon EC2. He has pre-built machine images, Amazon machine images, AMIs for us. All you need to do, and they are all loaded in Amazon. Okay, I'm going to take a 32-bit instance of the latest Ubuntu 10.04, and there is an AMI ID. I'm just going to copy that. I'm going to search for this AMI ID in the community AMI section. I find that. Now you will notice that this is of an EBS type AMI. EBS stands for Elastic Boot Storage, Elastic Block Storage. And if you guys need to know what it is, if anyone has questions, I will answer those questions after this demo. So I'm going to select this. And if you look here, this was the presentation I was originally planning on the M1.small instance with 1.7 gig RAM. Yesterday, I saw this. There's a micro instance with 613 MB RAM. And I'm going to request a spot instance. So there are 3 types of instances. There is an on-demand instance, there is a reserved instance, and Amazon just began something called as a spot instance. The downside to using a spot instance is without forewarning, Amazon can shut it down for you. So if you cannot run your mission critical apps on the spot instance, but just because we are doing this demo, I can go on a spot instance, and usually it will last for at least an hour of time. They will not try to shut you down in between, but I've heard instances where they have shut down spot instances in between the hour. Now the upside of using a spot instance, they are extremely cheap sometimes. So an on-demand instance currently for the small box is 8.5 cents an hour. A spot instance is as less as 3.1 cents an hour. That's a big upside. This one, as you can see, the micro is at 0.7 cents an hour. And what is my max bid price? I'm going to say 1 cent an hour. So in case the price goes up, I have covered myself till from 0.7 to 1 cent an hour. Okay, I'm going to hit continue. Reserved instance. Reserved instances, you can reserve a box from 1 year to 3 year period. And for this micro instance, you can reserve a 3-year micro instance for as less as $82 for the 3 years. So you have a machine for $82 for 3 years, and then you pay 0.7 cents per hour for the rest of the time. So pretty inexpensive. Okay, in this step, in the previous step, I just accepted the default options. In this step, I'm going to create a new key pair. I'm going to call it WordCamp-LA. I'm going to create and download the key pair, and what this is, and I'll show you in a sec. It will give you this key pair. I'm going to say save. It saves it to my downloads folder. Then it goes to the next step where I have to select a security group. What are security groups? Security groups are access groups into your instance. You allow certain ports to be open or closed. I have set up a security group called lamp-fedora. It has 3 ports that are open. Everything else is shut off. So from an outsider standpoint, SSH on port 21 is open. Port 80 for HTTP or our web server is open. And MySQL on port 3306 is open. That's my security group. I've created the security group, saved it. I'm going to just select it. Review this, and I'm going to submit. And so you can see I had a machine earlier, I've shut it off. There is a new request for a spot instance that is open. When the spot instance is provisioned for me, this icon will turn green and it will say active. So we have to wait for a few minutes, 3 to 5 minutes. So while we are waiting for that, can I answer any questions relating to steps that I have taken up to now?
Security groups. Can I get more granular with that?
Sure. So let me go into the security group setting. So this is your security group setting in your Amazon Management Console. This is my default security group. Okay, what does this say? MySQL, I have opened MySQL access for this security group for any machine that I spawn with this security group. Port 3306 for MySQL is open for all machines. 0.0.0/0 is keeping it open for all. Similarly, my HTTP port 80 is open for all machines with this security group. And somewhere in there might be, there is no SSH in here, so this one is good one. Oh, it does. Yeah, port 22 is open for that. I said port 21 earlier, I think for FTP port, it's port 22, I'm sorry. So the Fedora, lamp-Fedora security group has just basic settings. Any machine on the web or anywhere can access all these 3 ports. And for those services, they map to those services.
Can you just talk quick high level why you would use Ubuntu on a server versus like something like a Fedora core? I mean, Ubuntu is nice for end users. It looks like a Mac. On a server side, it's better than like a mature like Fedora core or something else.
I am very comfortable with Ubuntu, and most of my servers have been Ubuntu. Fedora, CentOS, or Red Hat are also servers that are commonly used. Again, I have used this Debian distribution, which is Ubuntu. And again, we are using the server piece of it, not the desktop.
Yeah.
This is not a desktop piece.
Right. Oh,
This
that's
is a
the
server
server.
operating system. So, no, this is a 32-bit operating system because we are on a 32-bit instance. So let's see if. One sec. Okay. So we have the instance is provisioned and it is active. Where do we see it? We see it in the instances panel. And we hit refresh. And you see this is a life cycle, is called a spot instance. It has an AMI ID, it has an instance ID, it has a public DNS, it has an internal DNS, and you had asked me about what is the public IP. This is the public IP of this machine. This piece. 184.72.136.220. You don't need to buy any elastic IPs or anything. This is assigned to you for the life cycle of this machine. As long as you keep this machine on, this is the IP address for it. So now that we have the machine up and running, we have to log into the machine. In order to log into the machine, you remember we created a key that we downloaded. So the way we log into these instances is using the key that we created. And in my case, my key is, I believe, in the downloads folder. Let's check it real quick. That's my key, wordcampla.pm. Now the way Eric, I think, has set up this instance is it will bark at me if I leave the right permissions open on the key. So I have to shut those off. So I bring this up, remove the write and read except for the owner. If I don't do this, the instance will prematurely tell me that, hey, I won't allow you to access this. The permissions are too wide open. So then I'm ready to start the access piece. So I'm gonna copy and paste some commands here, and all I'm doing is trying to SSH into my instance. in this case it's -la.pem, and this piece where it's giving me EC2, I have to use the new name, which is this. Nice. Okay. And I'm in. This is our machine, and now we have to go on about installing our software to get it up to installing WordPress and seeing our blog there. I'm going to run an apt-get update, and then I am going to run the package manager so that I can select which software I want to install. I use sudo task cell. Okay, you see the LAMP server, I hit the space bar and I'm gonna say okay. And this will install Apache MySQL PHP, and it asks me for a root user password. Obviously all of you know that you guys should set the password. I'm not going to set this for this demo. That's a bad security violation, by the way. And it will bark at me 2 more times. 10. I'm gonna say no.
So cache cell is
Sudo
a wrapper around.
It's a package
cell.
manager.
Yeah.
It's like your control panel. Okay, one more time. Okay, it's done. I want to see if my Apache is up. I can do it by running this, and you can see the Apache processes are up. And of course, another way to see it, it works, obviously, so that's good. So we're back to, I'm gonna have to enable mod rewrite. I want to make some config changes to the Apache config files for the available sites. Going to change all the overrides to all. Probably we want to. this, and I'm going to restart this. Okay, so, okay.
Is there an instance of an image where it already has all this stuff installed?
Well, so as you were saying, there are Fedora LAMP instances, not Ubuntu instance, and there might be a community AMI on Ubuntu that I don't know that has LAMP fully installed on it. But installing LAMP is not a, I mean, we saw how easy it was once you did a sudo task cell. Right? I mean, it's not that hard to install LAMP. Fedora, the Amazon images, AMIs that are pre-built, there's one Amazon image that has LAMP built in. So when you spawn the instance and you log in, you have LAMP available to you right off the box. And then you still have to do configuration for your site. So I just went ahead and did gamesfreepuzzle.com to be rendered from this server. But I have not made the change in my DNS panel. So I should probably go to my DNS panel and okay, nice. Image. I think this is the one that I changed, so I'm going to change this setting. So for now, this is what it looks like. This is how this site renders right now. I'm pointing it to my server, pointing the A record of gamesfreepuzzle.com to this server. Now, because I will install WordPress in this directory. Okay, it does not exist, so I've not created that yet. So I'm going to say full permissions for now, then I will lock it down later. And I'm going to get I'm getting the WordPress installation file, and it's a GZ file, so I have to unzip it. So it created a folder, it installed itself in a folder called WordPress. I have to log into. If I had created a password for MySQL, all I would do is have the option -p and hit enter. MySQL -u root -p. Instead, I will just do it this way. And all I need to do is create a database for WordPress, create database wp3, and I'm done by creating that. I'm also going to give you should if you do this, you have to still lock your important directories down after this installation. So I've recursively given all read, write, execute access to everything under WordPress. Let's see if the site. Oh, I still need to restart my Apache. I don't think this has the DNS changes are there yet. So let's see what this says. So this works. So the root of the site, I'm ready to install WordPress. Okay. Eventually, this piece will also go there. In the meantime, I will go ahead and create a configuration file. What was the database name we used? WP3. No password. Localhost. See this on the install. It's done. Puzzle games. WordPress is installed on your server now. How does it look? Let's see. Okay, this is not rendering. That's your 2010 theme from WordPress 3.0. This site will eventually become that. So in your control panel, one of the first things I like to do is turn on permalinks, clean URLs. So instead of seeing URLs like $p=123, I will see my post name. I would then like to install my favorite plugins. All-in-one SEO is my favorite SEO plugin. Let's go to the admin page to enable it. I can set the title of the home page, description, keywords. I won't do it for now. Done. Install a couple of other plugins. Sitemap. Google Sitemap. Activate that. How many of you like the native commenting system that WordPress gives? How many of you use Discuss?
It's permanently disabled.
Discuss it?
No, like I saved
Discuss the whole commenting, so you can take off the commenting hooks. I like Discuss for my commenting system. I don't like the native thing, so if I want to install Discuss. If you want to use the native thing, I'm sure you guys are aware of Akismet and getting an API key so that you can avoid the spam in commenting.
This plugin, apart from like Facebook,
It is a JavaScript. I believe the entire content is on discuss, but there is the page will read it, so the bot should read the commenting.
So it's not showing up the source when you use source.
It
shows
it
up.
does, right? So I am not going to enable it because I have to then. That's it. I have discuss on my blog. This is So this is discuss on my blog. Okay. So let's see how this renders. It's HTML. And it's not an iframed HTML.
If you break open that text there, it just wrap into
Okay. So they are not public on their site. They are not public on their site. There is no discuss doesn't have commenting on their site of your site's comments. So there is no index on. Okay. Yeah. Yes, because it's pertaining to your own blog. Your comments on your blog are not public to the world. So let's see if our site is still cache doesn't like that, it seems. Eventually the site should change.
Just give you a flush
Hmm?
give you a flush like so your team has a flush.
Let's see. Let's see.
If you do it, install it on the IP, so it's going to redirect back to your IP.
No, my server name and server alias in the site's default points to gamesfreepuzzle.com. Yeah, so I did those changes already. So if not, we can. See those? Server alias and.
I can't see it.
Yeah, so I have that.
That's not well, I mean, the host lookup shows that it's updated.
So let's do a ping to games. It should be now resolving to this. So this might be a browser cache issue.
You can go there directly via these
You can push your local maps
Yeah.
in
Firefox preferences. Delete all of that. Clear cookies, remove games. Okay. So flush all that. Remove that. Clear your recent history. Last hour clear now. For some reason, obviously, that's Control Shift.
If you hold down Shift and click the refresh button at the top, it should force refresh.
Oh, that's Mac refresh for me. I'm doing Mac refresh. Force refresh. Let me try Safari or Chrome.
Manish, I see if you go back to the IP.
You are seeing the blog, right?
Well, I'm going there.
The IP I'm able to. Right. So what I'm not able to. This worked. the server or? Oh, you are seeing games free puzzle. Okay. This doesn't. So some computers are seeing it, some are not. In the morning, we also had someone speak about caching and performance things. So let's try to search for super cache. WP super cache. One click. Install it. Activate it. And plugin admin page. Clear all cache on a poster pub. Post file. Test cache. Okay, so seems that caching is enabled. Oh, this would also help.